Apologies. Hi, can you hear me? Hi, baby.
Hi,
How
and
are
how
you?
you
I'm
doing?
sorry. My apologies. I was just on TV. I didn't know I was on TV. I just fell.
No worries.
I
No worries. No, it's a slight delay. Yeah, no worries. You good? You good?
How are you doing?
How you doing today? I'm
I
good. How
don't
you
know.
doing?
Somebody needs to reschedule. I don't know what this is, but it's not you. Okay. That's all I care about right now.
Right. Um, let me check the live stream. Make sure everything is up and rolling. All right. Okay. Everything looks good. So, Anna, how you pronounce your last name? I don't want to butcher it when we go on here.
Everybody's asked the same question, honey. Anna Lennyr.
Lennyr.
Lennyr, yes.
Lennyr. Okay. All right. Okay. Do the 10-second drop and you'll get right into it. So I'm gonna do my basic introduction. I'm gonna introduce you and you'll get right into it, okay?
Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are live. I would like to welcome everybody to a new episode of Saucy Conversation. This is our season 4, episode 17. I got a special guest in the house, but before I get to my special guest, gotta pay the bills real quick. So shout out to our sponsors, which is Click A Vodka. Make sure you go support Click A Vodka, okay? And also shout out to our other sponsor, which is Holistic Remedies. Make sure you go support them as well. If you use the promo code HRMeSaucy, you get 10% off, okay? So make sure you go support both of our sponsors of today's show. Also, shout out to my co-hosts. It's going to be it today. Shout out to Mac, Dad, Renice. Shout out to the whole Saucy Nation, the whole Saucy family. Thank you for tuning in today, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Saucy Nation TV, Twitch, and Facebook page. We appreciate you for joining in. If you're not, then you just at home listening to the replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. We appreciate you for watching and listening to today's show. Now, I have a special guest in the house, and she is a life strategist, public speaker, family relationships and mentor, anti-depression expert, who guides teens and adults to build strong family bonds. Saucy Nation, I'd like to welcome you to Saucy Conversations, Anna Lennyr. How you doing?
Thank you for inviting me. I love your show.
Absolutely. Round of applause, round of applause. Thank you for joining us on today's show. Before we get right into things, first of all, how you doing during this whole pandemic? How's your family doing during this whole tough time?
We have been busy getting people out of depression. Take this way. I don't know what else
Absolutely.
happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, so and we got a lot to pack in this whole hour. let's start with your childhood. How it was growing up. Take us to your humble beginnings. Tell us about your parents. Do you have any siblings? Tell us about how the household was coming up.
So I was born in Eastern Europe in one of those families where the children cannot smile at the age of 7 because everybody in the family is depressed, right? So
Mm,
abandoned by my father in a single motherhood situation. My mother was an alcoholic and also a very famous teacher in town. And from a young age, I was conflicted, right? I mean, I did love my mother, but shouldn't I be ashamed of the fact that she's an alcoholic? This transformed
mm,
in by the age of 12 into insomnias, headaches, migraines, S-shaped scoliosis, fibromyalgia, and by the age of 19, I became suicidal. I
wow.
um, I was depressed until the age of 38, when I realized that my son was slipping in depression just because he was trying to save me the same way that I was trying to save my own mother. Right.
Wow.
And this is a lot of times when we talk about depression, this is a generational condition where the child is trying to save a parent. And yes, I was at that point in my life. Nevertheless, I had the courage to realize that all I knew about life is about suffering, and I knew nothing about living. So I looked for guidance. I found four mentors at the age of 38, and I succeeded to get out of depression in 7 months. Today, I run these kind of programs where people, it doesn't matter if they suffer for generations or for decades, or if they have children that they suffer from depression, we can get them out in an accelerated rate.
Absolutely. So, growing up in school, what were some of your favorite subjects in school?
As my mother was a teacher, and as I was trying to beat migraines, headaches, insomnias, I have consecrated my life to learning, right? Because it was, first of all, it was the only way at that time to get out of poverty. Very simple, right? You go to college, you study and stuff like that. And I did went to two universities in the same time. One of them psychology to help me out, and the second one was classical studies, which was exactly the subject where my mom was an expert.
Uh,
But um, a lot of times we don't see that not knowing how to live and just, concentrating on trying to find some kind of knowledge to help you in a book is a sign of depression, right? Because
right.
you are there so desperate to find answers, right? That they're actually out there in the world, right? So when I did not know that, how to live life, how to have a boyfriend. Nevertheless, I had a boyfriend. I loved the boyfriend. I ended up married with him. I knew there is something wrong with him. I just didn't know that I married a narcissist until 9 years after, right?
Right.
So like this, when you feel there is something wrong, but there is no evidence to show you what it is wrong, you have no skills to make that selection, right? And you end up in traps by yourself, and then you end up more hurt and more heartbroken, and all this just like an avalanche of things that take you down and they kneel you in life.
Got you. My next question to you, did you always knew when you was younger that you um was going to be this type of person you are now?
So it's very, very interesting because everybody that suffers from depression, every parent that has a child in depression, knows that that child has a tremendous potential.
Mm,
If they could just overcome the wall between them and the world, the pain that they feel on their shoulders. right? And this is
Right.
exactly why, I reversed engineer the formula. And this is exactly what we do. We learn skills how to remove this kind of pain from your shoulders. We learn skills how to not bring other pains in. We call them strategies to live, not to suffer, right? Because once you're changing your life from a painful life to the one that you want, then your potential is open. You're like spreading your wings. You can really fly and do everything you ever wanted to do. And I tell people all the time, in the last 7 years, I have accomplished more than 3 generations of my family because I was free of pain, of emotional
Mm.
pain, of suffering, right? So this
Right.
is what's amazing about it. Everybody knows this, that they have a tremendous potential. They just know how to get to it. They just don't know how to unlock it. And this is exactly what I do.
Absolutely. Let's take to your father. You say you was abandoned by your father when
Yes.
you like 2.5 years old. Um, and your mother was alcoholic.
Yes.
Did you actually not actually you could actually remember those things from you were 2.5, but is it some I like to call them snapshots or screenshots in your head that actually the behavior of your mother and your father? How long did it take you to realize what was going on during that time when you was little? Did you notice it right away, and did you have like certain memories when you was younger to actually reminisce now, like, oh, that was what's wrong?
So no, a lot of times you're blocking memories when there is a full life of suffering, right? And there is a lot of times when you don't remember or you don't want to remember. And you have to understand that the mind a lot of times cannot take a broken heart and just denies it, right? And then you have to dig it in, things like that. But what was very interesting is because everybody that ever felt abandoned by a parent or by a spouse or by a partner, right? They feel a tremendous amount of anger deep down inside them.
Mm.
And I was so angry that at the age of 12, my mom put me through karate because I was sleeping with a fist. So I was sleeping with a fist on, like 10 stop. This is how angry I was, right? And she wanted me to get that anger out in a way or another, because you can't be angry at people, but you really can't
Exactly.
scream at people, right? This is
Right.
not the normal way. But it's very interesting that when I overcame depression, I was at some point put into my father's shoes. Okay. One of my mentors asked me, okay, now you imagine that you are your father and you come into the house and your mother, is an alcoholic and she keeps drinking, and you tried this for years and she never stops. What would you do?
Mm.
And my answer was, I would leave.
Wow.
Right? So
Right.
when you start seeing perspective and how pain, of course, the father did not know how to help the mother. The mother did not know how to help herself, right? And all of this combination ended up to be more explosive at some point, right? But this is why we give people the
Right.
strategies how to help yourself and the person next to you the proper way, so you don't have to leave or quit on them. But on the other side, you don't have to just let them drink or let them kill themselves sooner or later with alcohol or drugs, right? To find the right balance when yes, you're going to put a child through suffering, but you also don't have to put yourself through the same suffering or sacrifice for anybody or anything, right? So here you need to find the right balance. So this is why it's amazing when you are learning these kind of skills and strategies, because you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and you will see life in a different perspective.
Absolutely. Um, my next question to you is when you became suicidal at the age of 19. Tell me in the audience what was going through, what was going on with you during that time, and what was going through your mind to say, I'm just ready to end everything.
So the first thing that is going through my mind is that I cannot help my mom. I'm not good enough. I doesn't matter how many scholarships I have, doesn't matter how smart I am, how many university I go to, I cannot help her quit drinking. The second thing
Mm.
is I don't know. I love my boyfriend. I have a great boyfriend. There is something wrong with him, and I don't know what is wrong with him. And I don't know how to pursue this relationship further, right? So I didn't have any kind of relationship skills with my mother or with my boyfriend. And I said, listen, I am not suited to live this life. I cannot. I don't have the necessary equipment to work with life, to maneuver through it. I just don't. And this is what went through my mind is like, I would better call it quits.
Was there was there any like help during that time when you was 19, like when you was in school? Was it any like therapist in school, or what was going through your mind? Was it, you know, because sometimes when you hear therapy, a lot of people get on the defensive, saying it's nothing really wrong with me, and they just totally deny of getting this help. They just think therapy is for really like it's like really, I want to say it's for mental health people, but they, when they think of that, they think of asylums, of people being in straight jackets and stuff like that when they hear therapy and stuff like that. Was there anyone around and in your school, in your community that could have helped you during that time, and do you wish that you could have got help sooner than later?
Okay, so immediately after I was suicidal, I actually went to my second university, and the second university that I studied was actually psychology. And it was super funny because at the first day when we were there, I don't know how many, we were probably like 100 students or something like that. They asked us, which one of you had suicidal thoughts, already committed suicide? All of us raised our hands. Okay, we all came to the actual university, the only authority that was 22 years ago, 24 years ago or so, right, that can help us with our problem, knowing we have a problem, but we're not mentally ill or anything like that. We just have a problem to solve, right?
Right.
So it was super funny because I exited that university, and I call it today, I entered as a chicken and I exited as a cow with a lot of books in my belly. And I decided not to be a psychologist. And everybody said, you finished with scholarships and you're such a good student. Why? Because I'm still at the end of university as suicidal as my clients. I cannot do this job. There is
Mm.
nothing here that helped me. How am I supposed to help another? Just meet on a bridge who jumps first? I cannot do this. And I quit the profession at the time because this is the truth. Psychologists and therapists, they do not have the right resources to help people, right? It is good to just get it over, like, talking to someone, but no amount of talking ever solved the problem. And this is what it's interesting, right? You expect to talk and to solve anything, and no, doing solves everything. So here you need to learn how to solve your own problem. Come to me and said, "Oh yeah, you're telling people you're healing them from depression." No, 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 no. That's not what I'm telling. I'm telling them that I can guide them to get themselves out of depression. Big difference. I am not somebody that claims that I'm just going to woo you or something like that. And here you are out. No, you get the work done. I tell you what to do to get yourself out. Like this, you don't rely on therapists, on pills, on alcohol, on drugs, on gang members, on people that are narcissists, verbally abusive, that are trying to fool you into solving your problem.
Right, right, absolutely. Um, Everybody, make sure you hit that like button, share the podcast as well. My next question to you: when did the chronic pain starting to kick in with you, and when do you have problems with your weight?
Humiliation gives you problems with your weight. Okay, that is a
I
specific
like that.
wounded emotional wound. If you have three of them, you're depressed. If you have five of them, you're suicidal. So
Mm,
humiliation and embarrassment gives you problems with your weight, right? And how should I say? It comes in layers because it's a generational problem, right? So it's always another layer, another layer, another layer. What was more difficult for me is that some people can exercise because I have an S-shaped scoliosis since the age of 12 and two hernias of disc. That is not viable for me. For me, it's viable to not feel pain from these, physical conditions that I still have, but I have no more pain. I used to have a lot of chronic pain and a lot of fibromyalgia before the age of 38. So here is, you have to change your perspective about it. Yes, you can heal the emotional wound, but the body takes longer to accept it and to work with it. So the way I succeeded to lose 85 pounds in 7 months, for example, was by fasting and by keto diet, right? So I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter what problem you have or how you have it or what mental condition or what emotional condition or what physical condition you have. There is always a way. There is always a way. Maybe it's not the way you think it is, but there is always a way and there is always a solution. All you have to do is find it.
Mm. So help me out here. Where are like? Can you name like two things that you could actually um find um tools to help you get through depression?
Two things that helped me find my way out. First of all, mastering relationships with myself and others. Okay. I would say that the most important transformational point for me is when I was taught the 4 men and women archetypes. There are only 4 types of men and 4 types of women in the world, and they all have different values and different way of thinking. I think that was my transformational point. It snapped me out of depression immediately, because most people in depression, they get hurt by others, not knowing that others think in a different way, that they have different values in life, right? So this was the main thing. Today, I run one of those programs. It's called True Love Secrets. And why it's called True Love Secrets? Because it's based on trust, respect, understanding, and evolving in any kind of relationship, either parent-child or partner, or, with your parents, with your boss, with your friends, with everybody, right? So it's about the secrets of true love. And the second thing is how to master your emotions, how to change them, to transmute them from something negative into your actual superpowers. I'll give you an example. For example, anger, right? When you feel angry, I call it your fuel of life. You can take it, put the fuel in the car and run with a car for a long period of time, 400, 500 miles, as long as that fuel lasts, and you can make that, road work for you, right? Or you can put that fuel around the car and set yourself on fire and the entire gas station, right? It's the same anger if you know how to use it,
Gotcha.
right? So these kind of strategies we're teaching people, okay, how to not worry, how to change their anxiety to tell their body that they're safe. Not because the computer doesn't work right now, the world is not ending. You don't need a panic attack, right? It doesn't matter what happens. People accept apologies, okay, that the computer is not working. It happens to everybody, right? So these are practical strategies that we work on to change the way of thinking, to change the way you feel, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense a lot. You know, it took me a while to uh to go to therapy. Because what was wrong with me, I didn't take it real serious. I had it in school, but I didn't take it seriously. Um I had a lot of anger issues, just brought up anger. I had a lot of anger towards my father because I grew up in a very strict Christian household, and you know and every day had something to do with church. So I went to he's the pastor of his own church. So I had to go to deacon meetings, choir rehearsal, trustee meetings.
Let me guess, you're not going to church today.
No, I'm not.
That's what I thought.
I'm not good. That's how strict it was. And then I used to have to write like book reports on different chapters and on scripture and everything. Bible vacation school in the summertime. It was horrible. I didn't have that normal um childhood. Like yes, I did with only with my father. I did go to play basketball and like for a couple of days out the week in the summertime, but it wasn't like that all the time. It was just strictly religion. And growing when I became a preteen, that's when that anger started coming out, the rebelliousness. You've been spoon feeding me.
If somebody would have taught you at that moment that your father does not know the game of life and relies on the church to teach you, then you wouldn't have this anger issues.
Right. My therapist during that time, um, we did. I had a couple of sessions with him. It only lasted for like a year, and I remember one time that he had asked my father to come to a session just to explain his side of the story and also to listen to what I was trying to bring to the table. And if it wasn't the pastor of the church or if it wasn't Jesus himself, he didn't want to hear it. So
Exactly, because he did not know what else to teach you.
right,
He probably wanted to keep you away from pain, from bad people, from gang members, from alcohol, and he was relying on that scripture, okay,
right,
to help you because he didn't know how. We do not do therapy. I rarely, yes, I do travel for suicidal teenagers, and I would spend half an hour away with them just to convince them and to give them the assurance that we're going to help them and how we're going to help them. But I usually don't therapy children. I do every work with a parent, because you see, if somebody would have told your father, listen, you don't know anything about life, you're relying on this church, how about I'll teach you something about life so you can teach your child the right way, and like this you can bond together, would you like that? And your father will say yes. Instead of going from all these churches and spend so much time, I can still go to church and I can still learn together with my son.
right.
Do you see that approach? That approach of keeping you guys closed. And guess what? Honey, you can go once in a while now to church because you don't hate it so much.
Absolutely, I have to do some deep researching myself. So now I'm a Jew now, and I actually find peace. Um,
Exactly.
and also his family history as well. I have Jews in my family as well. So allowing that, doing a deep research and trying to find myself, that actually I'm at peace right now. I don't have anger towards my father or anybody in that part of that situation, which is growing up in church, nobody like that. Um, and another point I wanted to bring up is it had to during therapy. That's what actually I was actually diagnosed with being with anxiety and depression, and they came to one point. Um, I have two sons, an 8-year old and a 4-year old, and I'm no longer with their mother. But during the time of the breakup, he was engaged. He was about to get married. He was planning a wedding and everything, and then some trials and tribulations hit, and then we wind up breaking up. And during that time, I was actually killing myself. I was working two jobs. I was working a 9 to 5. I was working overnight, and I just didn't have any time to myself. Um, I was eating bad, eating eating fast food all the time, drinking all the time, and then actually I wind up ending up in the hospital. and that's when I found out I had diabetes, which runs in my family, and high blood pressure. And the doctor basically told me this: like, you first of all, you need to start working just one job, and you have to take your health more seriously. Because he asked me how old were my kids, and I told him how old they were. He like, well, you keep this behavior up, you're not gonna be around to see them. And that really uh took me back. I lost at least like 40 pounds. Started eating more healthier. Um, I I I started going to therapy at least 2 to 3 times a week. As of right now, I go once a week. And during that dark time I was in, I thought about taking my life during that time, and I can remember it. I was drinking heavily that night, and I actually brought a gun. Um, and I brought a gun, a revolver, and I still have the bullet to today. So this bullet was actually in a chamber, and now I put the gun to my head, and then just all of a sudden, I didn't have that same energy. Something that I just wanted to kill myself, but I couldn't do it. And it started like life stopped flashing before your eyes, and then you start seeing like you can't let your kids down, you can't let your sons down. And I think everybody has a mental health issue, and I think that everybody needs to go and get help and actually get diagnosed of what is wrong with them. And your steps, my therapist gave me steps, something similar to the steps that you've been saying for um since the show started. And I just think when you say enough resources um to you, can you give us a couple of resources in the beginning stages to help the audience realize that they have an issue, and these are the first two steps to take towards getting the help that you need?
So, when you have an issue, the first thing you need to understand there is nothing wrong with you. Okay.
Mm.
So, I'm going to give you right now the definition of depression. Depression is deep, heavy, and unresolved emotional wounding. Deep, heavy, and unresolved emotional wounding. In this definition, it tells you exactly what you need to do to solve this problem. You have to retrieve your emotional wounds, okay, to fix them and to release them, to let them go, right? So the first thing, and deep down, people know this. They know there is nothing wrong with them mentally, but there is a lot of wrong with them emotionally, and they don't know how to fix it. But there is nothing wrong with them intellectually. You can't tell me that the 6-year-old that I have, my youngest customer was 6 years old, was something wrong with him mentally, just because he was talking about dying since age of 4. We got him out of depression in 3 months. So it was something wrong
Wow.
with him at 6 months and 3 months is not. Okay, that's nothing wrong with a child. You cannot tell me that I finished 2 universities in the same time and there's something wrong with me mentally, because I wouldn't be able to finish them with scholarships, right? So here is the first thing you need to acknowledge. Yes, you're emotionally wounded, but you are mentally okay. You look unstable because emotionally you're unstable. This is how you look. This is how you behave, right?
All right.
If you don't fix those emotional wounds, okay, yes, they imprint on your brain and you're going to believe there is something wrong with you. All your life, you're going to believe there is something wrong with you. And this is where you go back to looking to your potential, because you know deep down you have a tremendous potential. You just don't know how to unlock it, right? And this is the first point, okay? The second point that I tell people all the time, you need to master relationships. If you master relationship with yourself and others, nothing can hurt you anymore, which means it cannot imprint on your body that there is something wrong or awkward with you, right? So here is the main point. You need to learn that there are 4 types of men, 4 types of women in the world. Everybody thinks the same. Everybody acts the same. They don't want to hurt you. They just think and love and values differently, right? So
Right.
here you need to get some skills on your belt not to isolate yourself thinking that there is something wrong with you. And then the next step is like, why am I on this planet for? I'm unuseful anyway, right? I can keep a relationship. I can be a good parent. I can do this. I can do that. I'm just in suffering, right? So
Right.
these are the two main points. And we address those actually on my website, which we have a bunch of resources for free. On our website, we have specific resources for free just to address these issues.
Yes, and I will actually put that description to our website in the below. The link, the link to our website below. My next question for you is mentoring. Um, what made you get into being a mentor?
So I had 4 mentors to overcome depression. And there is how should I say, we tell people how to get themselves out. But without guidance, it's almost impossible because it's still a huge fog and you can't see the road in front of you, right? You can't, when you live in pain, the only thing you see around you is pain, right? So I had 4 mentors that helped me. And the way they helped me is when I started admitting to myself that all I knew about life was suffering. I never knew anything about living. All I knew was suffering, nothing about living. And I went to them and I said, listen, I want to live 1 week happy in my life before I die. And they were like, how old are you? 38. How old are you? 38. Oh God, what is wrong with you? You only think like this, right? It's like you're talking like an 83-year-old woman that's gonna die tomorrow, right? You're just 38. I'm like, yeah, I'm just 38. Relax, woman. You're gonna live a lot of decades happy. Just take it easy, okay? So this is how you're thinking. We're in that spot, right? Because you're so desperate. I'm like, listen, I want to show my kid that I can be happy for a week before I die. I'm like, what? What is wrong with you? Right? So, exactly. So I had mentors that pulled me out. It took them 7 months to pull me out, right? Now I have a even better strategy depending on which level of pain you are and how you feel. Okay, if you're suicidal, it's going to take 7 months, but if you're not, it's going to take 6 weeks, right? So depending at what level. But this is what made me a mentor when I realized that I got out, but other people are still in. When you get out of something like this, very complicated issue, right? You think that you caught the last train, right? You caught God by a leg or something, right? This is exactly how
Right.
it is, right?
Yes.
Like, yes, I caught God by a leg. I'm out, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. And then you realize, like, wow, hold on a second. There are a lot of people left behind. Okay, right? And actually, before the pandemic, my mentors came to me and they said to me, "Is like, listen, you really need to turn this into a serious mentorship program." Like, what? Who, me? I barely escaped. I'm so happy I'm out. There is no way I'm going back to hell to save anybody. I'm out of hell. Thank you, God. Right? So this is, my way of thinking. We said, no. You have to understand that you've been in depression at all stages, as a child, teenager, suicidal young adult, parent with a child almost depressed. We did not know actually how to get you out of depression. We just threw everything at you trying to help you. I'm like, really? I paid you $320,000 for that to just throw it at me to see what sticks? I'm like, really? Now you're telling me? It's like, listen, now you know what works. You can reverse engineer the formula and help others. And this is exactly what we do. We have 2 branches in our company. One to overcome depression, the other one to prevent it. So you will never get there, especially if you're a young adult or teenager, right? So this is why I became a mentor under the pressure of my mentors, a couple of them who will retire very soon, okay? And under the how should I say, it's just so simple. I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe it sounds offensive to some people, right? That they suffered a lot. And I've been 27 years in this, and I have clients who are coming to me. My oldest customer is 74 years old, right? So they spent 6 decades in pain, right? But it's so simple once you make the decision to get out, to just follow steps. That's all you have to do. If you put your mind into it and said, oh, I'm going to do it in the next 20 years, you have 20 more years of suffering.
Right. That's very powerful. We'll give you a round of applause for that one. My next question to you is when you was a mentoring or helping somebody get over depression, can you recall a moment that was very, very bad for you? It could be the person you were trying to help that you was like, oh, why did I get myself into this?
No, actually, I get myself into it with a purpose. But there were circumstances, a couple of circumstances that I haven't encountered. Like I had a client who lost both of her sons in her lifetime, or I had somebody that was raped repeatedly, right? That never happened to me, right? So here I let them vent out exactly like a therapist, which I usually don't do. I don't listen to the story, right? And then I needed a couple of days to see how I approach the problem, not to, how should I say, make them feel guilty because they can't do it themselves, because everybody at some point still feels guilty. Listen, I tried everything and it didn't work. What is wrong with me? Why I can't do it, right? So at some point, everybody has that level of guilt towards themselves, right? So I needed a couple of days, and then I had another session with them, and I found the right approach. But yes, I've been through some circumstances like this, right? In December, for example, I got off a stage with Jesse Cole, Jillian Michaels, and JT Fox, all millionaires, right? And I was approached by the uncle of a 6-year-old who was depressed. His name was David. I froze at some point, right? I'm like, 6-year-old who talks about death since the age of 4. I need to see this. I need to make a home call here, a house call here, right? And I actually went and see what's going on. And then I said, okay, now it's Christmas. You guys have Christmas. We start working in January. Within 2 weeks, I worked on the strategy, how to get that kid out. Took less than 3 months to get him out. He's out already, right?
Wow.
From January, right? So this is, sometimes it's how should I say, it's a matter, even if I have a formula, right? It needs to be suited for the person that I haven't been in those shoes, right? It needs to be a little bit modeled, right? Even if it's the same formula, they actually follow the same formula. To make sure that they have the right skills that insulate them from depression, that they remove all the emotional pain, and they rebuild with good skills and with everything they want in life, with their true potential, instead of ever slipping back. It's the same formula, and it's actually on my website for free. But sometimes there are cases that I haven't seen or I haven't met, and I've seen a lot, right? Where I have to suit it a little bit. I have to model it a little bit, just for a couple of sessions, and then everything goes smoothly. But no, I didn't. I did not ask myself this question, because I knew from the beginning what I get myself into. Everybody is like, it's super funny. They're all coming to me, and like I had somebody recently, 38-year-old alcoholic woman. The kids ran away from her with her sister. She was living with her parents, blaming her parents for their depression, kept telling me, my parents F me up, my parents F me up, my parents F me up. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And at some point, it's like, listen, do you want to be more suffering, or you want to fix this? Right? Because it's just like, this doesn't help. Right? Complaining about your life when you're already an adult, right? She felt guilty that her children have no father. I'm like, yeah, exactly like my father. He didn't want to stay with an alcoholic woman, right? So here, yeah, immediately we got her into the relationship model. We call it model. It's a program, right? To see if she's ready for more. Because We test people. You see, people who suffer from anxiety and depression, if they don't succeed to get out in 2 days, which is not possible, sorry to tell you, right? They quit on themselves very easily.
Right.
Right. And even in the middle of a program, when they feel that pain goes away, they're like, what happens when it goes away, the pain? Who am I without the pain? And they freak out. Right.
Yep, they do. Yep.
Because they've never been without pain and they don't know who they are. Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. So here we have our own methods of testing them, if you will, if they're ready. And a couple of times I had to be extremely rude and tell people, listen, you're not ready. You need to suffer some more. I'm sorry. You're not ready. You think your way out is in a way or another, then you should have been already out if that was the right way. I'm sorry to tell you. Okay. You think you know it all, but you're still in depression. You clearly know how to suffer. You don't know how to live. Right. So I had to turn around people. I said, you're not ready. You say you are, but you're not. You're not going to do the work. Right. So it's not you. You're not at the right time. So come back to us when you're ready. I had to do a couple of calls like this too.
Wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing. My next question to you is explain to us your philosophy, master the game of life.
Yes. Instead of mastering the game of suffering. That's the opposite. So listen, we all, when we are in some kind of suffering, we believe that we have to fight with life. And I tell people all the time, when you fight with life, you're going to lose. You might get lucky. Might be 1% of you that gets lucky. Most of you are going to lose. Sorry. Life is a big thing. And you're just one little person. Okay? Doesn't matter how many pounds you have. You're still one little person, right? Instead, learn the skills and strategies to surf with life. And yes, you're going to become a better and better surfer. And you're going to actually even enjoy it because it's amazing to surf, right? But here is how you maneuver that surfing board, how you are picking your wave, right? Instead of fighting with an ocean that's going to drown you sooner or later. So this is actually what we teach. How to master the game of life, not the one of suffering, which a lot of people master today.
Right. Nice. I like that. Do you have any new projects you're working on you'd like to share with the audience?
We are thinking about starting doing live events.
Okay.
And we are thinking about opening an institute.
Nice.
With lessons of life. Okay.
I like that.
So we're quite busy. We're quite busy with everything. I don't know when I'm going to have time to sleep. But I need 2.5 years of my life, and this time I won't be suicidal. I promise you all. Yeah, we're working on a team to do some other things, but we always have the free resources for people, specifically on one of our websites called Better Ask Anna, ANA with one N.com, where they can find free courses, they can find free workshops, they can ask a free question, and you're going to get your answer for it. So we have a lot of free resources because we want to spread awareness that this is possible. If you know deep down in the back of your mind that this is possible, you're not going to go attempt suicide. You're not going to go down the road of no return with drugs and alcohols and things like that. You're going to know that there is help out there and you have a choice, right? So this is why we have a lot of resources for free. We're thinking about putting more out there, including some live events for free, because we need to spread awareness and we need to think about our children. If one of our parents is in depression, it's very possible that the child will slip too, because the child is trying to save a parent, right? Is trying to help out. and they don't know how. And this is why this generation accelerates and they kill themselves faster and faster than ever. We need to prevent this. And this is why I honor podcasters like you that raise awareness and they save lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. My last question to you before we get out of here is, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, goodness. With a team of 200 people. Working there behind that is like, if you don't give us a vacation, we're going to end up in depression.
Don't want to go back there now. Don't want to go back there. Right, right. Absolutely.
Something like that. Get emails. If you don't give us a vacation, we all end up in depression. Please give us some time off. This is why we
Absolutely.
already see ourselves, how busy we are.
Right, right, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of Social Conversations, episode 17 of my season 4. And I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This is just the beginning. You are now officially a Social alumni. So, if you have anything you would like to promote or you'd like to be just a part of the panel, just hit me up and we can actually make that happen. So, this is just the beginning, and there's going to be many more episodes with you in the near future.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in on whether you watch it on YouTube, Social Nation TV, Twitch, and Facebook page. You can watch the rerun on YouTube and on our Facebook page on Social Nation TV. Want to thank everybody. If you did get a chance to watch the live stream or the video, we appreciate you for listening at home, whether you're at work, whether you're driving, whether you're cleaning up the house or anything, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast from. Thank you for following us. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to our sponsors, Click A Vodka. Shout out to our other sponsor, Holistic Remedies. Don't forget to use that promo code HRME Saucy, and you get 10% off. Shout out to my co-hosts, Dad, Mac, Bernice, who couldn't be here today. And also, the 24/7 TV network is coming. I'm aiming towards the full time. So all the podcasters, all the content creators, whether you do web series, short films, documentaries, if you'd like to be a part of the network, just hit me up at socialnationtv@gmail.com and I'll see all the information on the 24/7 streaming network. Okay. So God bless you, Anna, and more success to you in the future. And like I said, it's only the beginning. Looking forward to you on being on future episodes of Source Conversations.
Love you guys.
Peace, love, everyone. We'll see you on episode 18. We out here.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I could.
Okay.